Good to go. All right, so this is episode one of the Strategy Wargamers. I am Gene Marciniak, and welcome. Basically, this is a podcast where we're just going to talk about the latest and greatest in strategy games, from articles to reviews to opinions. And every week we're going to have a special guest. This week we're going to be having Bradley Cummings from Shenandoah Studios. Welcome, Bradley. How are you? What I wanted to ask you about is you
Sure.
guys are definitely a big player in the iPad field, especially when it comes down to strategy games. Ever since Battle of the Bulge came out, you see a lot of other developers jumping into the pool here and trying to develop their own type of game. And I've seen some of them. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen some of them post some apps, some games on the iPad, and it hasn't been as successful as Battle of the Bulge. And what I've noticed is one of the developers actually took a desktop game and just ported it over to the iPad.
Right.
Now, in your opinion, do you feel like that would work for a tablet, or do you feel like you need to take that playbook that was developed for the desktops and kind of reinvent it for the tablets?
Well, you put me in a little bit of a tough position. I don't mean to disparage any of our competitors. I think they all have their strategies and there's reasons why they do certain things. But for Shenandoah personally, and not speaking for me personally, but as a company, I think our policy and our goal from the very beginning has been to build things for the ground up for iPad. And being able to fit those on iPhone as well is great, but really, the Bulge map was perfectly cut and and framed to fit that iPad screen, fully zoomed out. And that's something we tried to maintain with Drive on Moscow, which is why it's rotated 90 degrees. You're playing what you would normally consider south is actually east, and sorry, what considered south is west and north is east. But yeah, I think that for us, the goal is to build something directly from the ground up for iPad, and that's a unique position of where we're coming from. But we feel like that's the best way to give the best experience to iPad players, really.
Yeah, because I don't feel porting desktop games directly to the iPad would be um, the best model because using a keyboard and mouse is very different from using your finger.
Hmm.
It's not going to be a direct port, and I think you guys really nailed it because there's a lot of board gamers out there that are very reluctant to go on the iPad and buy games. They utilize it for consumption of other media. But I think developing this game kind of turned a lot of heads because they were saying, wow, board games can work on a tablet. And that's why I feel that you guys revolutionized it because you kind of turned a lot of heads where they said, wow, this can actually work. It's actually been implemented at a point where we can actually replicate what is being done on board games, but now on a digital device. And that was a big step forward.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think that's definitely something we hoped to do with Battle of the Bulge and continue on.
Well, you guys got a couple other games in development. You guys have what is it? Gettysburg, the Tide Turns. That's the biggest one that's on my mind. I go to Gettysburg every year, so I'm a big fanatic about the Gettysburg history. So that's a game that I'm gonna buy day one, right out of the box. I also signed up for that. You guys had a Kickstarter, I think, for Gettysburg, right?
We did, yeah. So that is, yeah, we delivered some of the digital goods on that, but we're definitely going to be delivering those things as we approach the release of the game next year. So.
I think I'm getting a board game. I think that's one thing that I remember signing up for.
So
Is that coming out? I think you guys are partnered with a developer to develop board games of the actual iPad game that you're developing.
right. So it's a little bit different than that, but basically, yeah, the idea is that Clash of Arms Games will be making a Gettysburg the Tide Turns board game as well. That they won't. We can't control how the art will look necessarily. They're working directly with Eric Lee Smith, who's our CO and the designer, and we'll be working with him with the same design, but whether or not they choose to use the iPad art or what they choose to use is a little bit beyond what we have control over. But yeah, that's definitely something we're pleased to offer, and we're excited for this opportunity to, a lot of people have asked, where can I get Battle of the Bulge as a tabletop game, or where can I get Rival Moscow? And now we could be like, yeah, here we go to clashofarmsgames.com, or maybe we'll have it through our website available for people. And if you back the Kickstarter, you'll definitely be getting a copy. Those should be pretty close to simultaneous releases.
Okay.
Clash of Arms is getting a great deal here since we're doing a lot of the playtesting work on on Drive.
So you're doing all the work; they're just collecting the check.
No, I'm just joking. It's it's a completely deal that was worked out. I don't really know the full details, but yeah, we definitely are playtesting the game, making sure it's good to go from our point of view, which are the same kind of principles that you're going to want in a tabletop game as well.
Yeah, I wasn't big on board games. I started obviously with the computers, and I played games on there. But recently I got a chance to go to what they call the Historicon. And actually, I met you there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I met first, I think.
Yeah, right. And one thing that I was kind of I took some time out because I was very interested in board games, but my friends were. We played the Risk and the Axis and Allies, which were I fell in love with. But the only problem with those games was, as we grew older, we had different interests, primarily girls, it was kind of hard to get a player to play the game. So generally, what I did is I just fell into computer wargaming and had the computer as an opponent. But when I went to this con here, I was kind of surprised at the amount of people that were there. They not only took up the main game hall, but then there was it must have been a dozen or half a dozen side rooms that were huge, and you had maybe 20 or 30 games, and each game was on a table that was, I can't even begin to tell. It was probably like 10 feet by 10 feet, in terms of dimensions. It was huge, and it was incredible. I wish I had this when I was a kid. I didn't see anything like this, but I was kind of surprised at the amount of people. I still play board games, and at the level of dedication they have. Some of them came from like Australia, Europe, so that kind of gives you an impression that board games are still around, and they're going to be part of gaming. But do you see that kind of transferring over more to the digital media like iPad and iPhone, or do you see them as two basic groups that are going to basically stay the same? Like the iPad, of course, is going to have more and more of an audience, but do you see board games kind of declining, or is it going to stay as it currently is in terms of popularity?
That's a question I get asked a lot, actually, personally, and both as a company. I feel like for those of probably our age and older, I don't think board gaming is ever going to decline. I think that these games are actually serving to increase our popularity of it. I have many board game type experiences on my iPad, way too many. I had to get a bigger iPad to hold all of them, but I had to up my storage capacity.
But what did you have to upgrade it to?
I don't know. It's a lot. The most it can be.
Wow. 128, huh?
Yeah, but I haven't hit it yet. But it's possible that I may. Anyway, I was being pushed on the 64 though. But yeah, I feel like those experiences are, for me personally, I enjoy them, and there are some games I've played on there that I might not play on a tabletop, which, like, for me personally, something perhaps like Battle of the Bulge, probably something that I actually enjoy playing more on iPad than I would on the tabletop. However, that hasn't diminished my game collection in my basement at home. It hasn't diminished my desire to have friends over. Don't have as much time for that maybe, but I still feel like these digital experiences are enhancing and giving us a chance to play games we love more rather than preventing live play or lessening my desire to do that. Now, my daughter, who was just born, or I guess she's almost a year, but my daughter,
congratulations.
Thank you. When she is older, I can't tell you, what the world will be like. But For us of this generation, until we are pass away, and I hope several hundred years from now, a long time from now, I think that we grew up with these things, and I think we're going to keep enjoying them. And I think the digital experience is just supplementing, giving us more gaming when we want it, really, not taking away from our tabletop gaming.
Yeah, I can imagine about maybe in your daughter's generation or her daughter's generation, they'll be playing it on either Google Glass, kind of moving with their hands.
Possibly, yeah, virtual reality. Or
yeah, maybe something like that, right?
Actually, selling Catan out there with hose and all that stuff.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Talking about Axis and Allies, when I was bringing it up, it kind of made me think. Did you know that we have Risk for the iPad? Yeah, I don't know if you picked that game up, but one game that I was hoping ever since the iPad came out, literally day one, I was kind of hoping for was an Axis and Allies for the iPad.
Right.
And if you go around the internet, there are some people are also asked those questions. Do you feel like a lot of developers, like manufacturers, I forgot who owns Axis and Allies, but
I think it's Hasbro now. But yeah,
it's Hasbro. Do you feel like they're still holding out, that they're not jumping into the iPad market because they're waiting for something, or what do you feel like for this game like Axis and Allies? What do you feel is kind of like holding a lot of developers back, publishers back from developing games for this platform?
I have to think about this. Sorry, because I do have an opinion probably why Axis and Allies specifically isn't out on this platform. I do feel like talking about this, if we were having this conversation a year, maybe more like 2 years ago, this problem would be a lot more severe than it is now. There were, for example, there are a lot of Axis and Allies clones out there, and I know there's a lot of players that would prefer not to play a clone of a game that they love. They'd rather play the actual game, and I totally agree with that. If a designer put his heart and soul into something, I prefer that designer get credit for it. Now, is that the law of it? You can't copy someone? No, it's not the law. You can't, hold mechanics. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, personally, I would love a world where every designer got credit for what he did, knowing that none of these designers are really living it up. Yes.
I think the game you were talking about was the clone was the AAA right here. If you guys are not familiar with it, if you go to AAA.sourceforge.net, actually take you to the website here, and it looks like it's basically Axis and Allies directly, but it's a port for both for the desktop, for Windows and Mac.
Oh, interesting. Well, there also is I think it's called a European Conflict or something like that on the App Store. It kind of it's somewhere between Risk and Axis and Allies in terms of its mechanics. It's a little more complex than Risk, but yeah, I agree that there are clones out there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I feel like that problem is less than it used to be. I think we're seeing a lot more games a lot faster on iOS. However, I feel like, specifically speaking about Hasbro or larger companies, their business is so driven by physical products, and I don't think they're afraid about cannibalizing. I don't think they're afraid that there isn't necessarily a market for it. It's just that perhaps the market for Axis and Allies on iPad, in the grand scheme of dollars, is so small that it's maybe not a priority, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does actually. I mean, I the way I see it is that I've worked with a number of CEOs, and I worked with a lot of publishers, and one thing that I can tell you from my experience working with these people is they don't see 5 feet in front of their face. To put it bluntly. I always see it that whenever I converse with them, and when I'm on projects and I'm working with them, I always find it that that they're always afraid of jumping into a new type of medium. For example, a good example would be kind of like the carriers, with smartphones, or basically the cable companies with the way Apple and Google are trying to revolutionize TV, and the cable companies kind of holding off we're fine where we are and not kind of going forward. And I feel like a lot of publishers are doing the same thing with gaming. Matrix Games is really great. They are jumping literally 2 feet into the tablet market, and I believe the smartphone market hopefully shortly. But I feel like with Axis and Allies, I mean, Risk launched on the iPad, and it did very well. I mean, I noticed every time I was going through the App Store, it was always within the top 50 or top 100.
Right.
So, I mean, they definitely made some money out of that game, especially when it first came out. It was in the top 10 for, like, I can't tell you how many weeks. So, I mean, they definitely made some money. Right. And I feel like that not putting Axis and Allies on there, they're losing an opportunity. And we are too, because, honestly, I would love to play this game, you know? But I feel like we're losing an opportunity having such a great game on the iPad. And so I was doing a little research for this game, and especially from AAA, who does kind of, like, as you said, a clone of Axis and Allies. They don't name themselves.
That's the proper word, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I went through their website, and their head honcho, or whatever you call him, he was basically saying that he's actually very open to the idea of developing this clone for the iPad. The only problem is I could see something maybe with the legal field where Hasbro might get involved. So I think it'll probably be a while before we see games like Axis and Allies on the iPad, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, I see 2 possible positives. One, we've seen Wizards, which is a subsidiary of Hasbro, be a little more open in coming to the platform recently. We've had 2 or 3 years of Magic games, Lords of Waterdeep, which was a partnership but has come out. And so, you know, the tides could be changing there, the attitudes there. The other thing is, you know, we at Shenandoah are very open in what we do. Big AAA companies, sometimes stuff just comes out. You know, you don't know it's coming, and it just comes out. It could be very well that, you know, Axis and Allies is a year in the works, and it could be coming out at any time without letting us know. So I wouldn't totally rule it out. I think you're right. I think, you know, Risk and other games that EA has developed for Hasbro have done really well, and we could definitely see bigger titles like that coming.
Yeah, because they usually just pop these. Sometimes they just pop these games out. I think Risk was like one of that, where they just showed up on the App Store, and I was like, oh, all right.
Exactly.
And there was no development on news or anything. It's just like, hey, here we got Risk here, and they redesigned it a few times since initial launch. They went from like they did like kind of a modern spin on it, which was kind of odd, but you know, I'll take what I can get.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Speaking about like big publishers here, I wanted to get your thoughts on there's a couple of games coming out, and I want to see if you're a fan of them, because I am.
All right.
One game that's on the verge of coming out, I think it's next week. I was talking to some of the guys at the Matrix Games. They were telling me Panzer Corps is on its way to the iPad very shortly. Now, the question I have for you is, are you a Panzer Corps fan?
I personally am not a Panzer Corps fan, which is probably good, but I definitely think it's something that I know people are looking forward to, and it definitely seems interesting. It seems, yeah, like it could do some interesting things on the platform. Yeah,
the big thing that I wasn't really a Panzer Corps fan. I was more of an Allied General type of fan. I didn't like playing the Axis forces on the desktop, but I'm really excited for this game. Primarily because this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. They took a desktop game, they spruced it up with a touch interface, and they released it. They're releasing it for iPad. And I mean, this is something that I'm looking forward to, because you know, I mean, Panzer Corps is basically Panzer General for the desktop. It's just a different name for it.
Right.
And I'm hoping this brings a lot more people into the tablet market. Primarily because the more the better. You know, if this is successful, then they're going to come out with more and more titles for the iPad.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our point of view, speaking company-wise, yeah, I think, the market we're in the sort of historical strategy game is it's pretty sparse at the moment. And I think that, any kind of more mainstream things that bring more people into this niche are only beneficial for everyone. I think we're still definitely in a situation where a rising tide raises all boats. Is that the saying? Something like that. But I think that the audience we're still dealing with could be so much bigger, and anything that helps bring more audience in is great.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big thing. I mean, if we can get more developers and more people developed for the iPad, we'll have more concentration of games. I can see in maybe 5 or 10 more years, maybe 10, not 5, but we are probably going to have as many strategy games on the iPad or the tablets than we will actually on desktops. Because I noticed a lot of developers kind of leaning away from the desktops more to the mobile field, primarily, I think, because people don't have time. I mean, the tablet is with them basically wherever you go. Your smartphone. I mean, my smartphone's never 5 feet away from me, except now. But yeah, I mean, my desktop, my iMac, I use it for a lot of horsepower. I use it for like video editing and gaming. I'll play like high-end games on here. But 90% of the time, I'm using my iPad here, and this comes with me wherever I go. My iPhone comes with me. Do you see that changing? Do you see desktop? I mean, do you see desktop games kind of lowering in popularity and everybody going to the tablets for the most part?
I think that desktop gaming has kind of been in a strange place for a while, actually. Just in terms of, I think it was really big when I was in junior high, and then it kind of console gaming ruled for a long time. But I do think, especially in the world of turn-based strategy, real-time strategy is a little bit trickier on a touch-based interface, tablets especially. Though there have been people that have done it well, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a little trickier.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah. There's a couple of good titles out there.
Yeah, there are a few that do it well, but I think in terms of turn-based strategy, I think that we are seeing really a renaissance of that type of gaming on iPad, and we will. I think you're right. I think we will see more titles, or are seeing more titles on iPad of that genre than we will see on the desktop. It just, I don't know. Yeah, like I think obviously, like I said, our games over playing a war game on a tabletop. I think for me personally, that's something that I'm going to do a lot more often, just because I can do it in 5 minutes instead of longer than that, and have to actually find a friend to come over. But even big titles like I don't know, even like XCOM, right, which was on Xbox. I played it. I didn't play it on PC because I didn't have a very strong PC, but I did play it on Xbox and had a great experience. But I know of players that have played it again on iPad, or played it much more, just because it's just a lot easier to pull out for quick play sessions. And I think that's true with a lot of turn-based strategy games, including what we make and what others make out there as well. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think we're going to see. I think we're in agreement here. No argument there. I think definitely going to grow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Primarily, I mean, I think it's definitely a rich field to go into. I think as many as Steve Jobs mentioned years ago, one of his things was that he sees everybody leaving kind of laptops, desktops and laptops, and in the future going to see everybody using an iPhone, or a smartphone, or an iPad or type of tablet as their daily drivers. And then for the professionals, people like video editing and stuff like that, they're going to be utilizing the full desktop OS, laptop and desktop. I think there's a lot of, I think he was right on that mark, because
I agree.
Believe it or not, I mean, I see people every day. I mean, instead of coming in for a laptop, they're coming in and saying, "Hey, I would like to get an iPad." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you have a laptop at home?" He's like, "No, this is going to be my computer." I'm like, "Wow, that's saying something." I mean, I'm seeing that a lot more if you guys probably don't know, I work in the retail field and well, retail and some other projects too, but half the time I would say retail. And I see this every day. I interact with literally hundreds of people, and I definitely see a big push going into from laptop to tablets, and that kind of explains why developers are kind of pushing away from desktops. Not to say that it's going to cut, but I think
Right.
we're going to see more attraction for the iPad and for the smartphones.
Well, that's interesting to hear from your point of view directly from the retail space that you're seeing, different trends of what people are coming in asking for. This is really fascinating to me. I think people like Steve Jobs that have tried to push us past. I see these commercials for other devices that are like half laptop, half tablet,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Surface.
And I'm not necessarily calling out any specific, because there's many brands of them, and I'm not necessarily calling those out as unnecessary. I just feel like we need to take. It really reminds me of kind of the Xbox PS4 thing. The Xbox One wanted to make some major changes in the way we play games in terms of digital ownership versus physical ownership, that sort of thing. And I feel like that is a lot of the argument that's going on between the laptop tablet generation, right? In a tablet, you're limited. You have a limited amount of memory. You rely on the cloud more rather than on-site storage. You're limited in terms of your ease of expansion and things like that. And while those things sound scary, I guess, or I don't know, or limiting, I don't really think they are, because I know that for the essential uses I need my iPad to be used for, I know that it's going to work almost every time. The chances of it, and I am in a Macintosh household, a Mac household, right? And even my laptops are not as reliable as my iPad for just doing the things that it's essentially meant to do. And as it grows, it's beginning to be able to do more of the things that I essentially need in my life. Email, web surfing. The only things really is lengthy spreadsheet calculations and long essays probably aren't as convenient on a digital keyboard. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I agree with you. I think we need to continue to be innovating as tech users, and I think that seeing that people are ready to use tablets rather than relying, because when you move to a tablet type interface, maybe it's an interface that isn't reliant on a keyboard, right? Maybe we have to start thinking of new inputs, new types of inputs.
That's a good way of looking at that. Yeah.
So I don't know.
For Apple now.
Oh boy, call me up. Eric might be mad, but no, no. But yeah, I just think, and I don't mean if that's like waving our hands in front. I don't know what it is. I haven't discovered that innovation yet, or I probably wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be too busy counting my money stacks. But no, I don't know. I just think I think we need to not be limited by the keyboard. I think Palm years ago did a great job of trying to invent something that, even though it didn't necessarily hold on forever, it was a great idea of showing us that you can type on a tablet without the traditional keyboard that you're used to.
Yeah.
Just because you learn the keyboard doesn't mean that's always going to be the best way. Maybe it's speech recognition. Maybe it's a world where we write less and express ourselves other ways more. I don't know. But
I think speech recognition is. I was watching one of my favorite things I always watch is All Things D, and Mossberg and Jobs had a conversation. They were talking about the exact thing you were talking about, speech recognition on a tablet or smartphone to kind of almost like replace the keyboard. And Jobs mentioned something to me that which ring true is he always said that speech recognition is always a couple of years away, and every time you get to that couple of years, it's always delayed a couple more.
right.
Primarily because of he was mentioning that if you speak 50 words, speech recognition had a failure rate of like 1 in 50 or 1 in 100. But if you're speaking a whole essay here, and you have like say 3,000 words, you have to go back every 50 words and correct that one.
Right.
So that and I notice a lot of developers, even companies having trouble with that. I mean, good example is Xbox One, where if you if you watch some of the reviews, they're like Xbox on, Xbox on,
Right.
Xbox on, you know, and it finally would do it. But
Right.
I feel that is a great way of looking at it as a new input because I mean, think about it. I mean, instead of typing your document, it'd be great to just dictate it.
Right.
Or and I've seen some really great uses of this Xbox One, and I'm a PS3 guy. And I was going to get the PS4, and I can tell you, I was watching, what was it show? I think Twit, or was it? It was a part of the Twit network. It was one of his shows,
Okay.
and they were talking about how the Xbox works beyond the gaming system, where you have that voice integration and it integrates with your cable system, and
Right.
they are kind of pulling me to get an Xbox now. I mean, honestly, I was a PS3 guy. I was going to PS4 very soon, and now I'm like, oh shoot, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So
It's
I could see that as a future. I think you're really right on that, where we're looking at as speech recognition as becoming an integral part of our future.
And I think it's easier to see. Maybe it's kind of hard for me to give a clear example now because I don't think we've found the solution in terms of like all input yet. But I think gaming's a really good microcosm to look at because it like you take something like trying to think. Oh, Oceanhorn that just came out. Their solution to mimic console-like controls on the device was virtual controls. I don't know if you played that, but it's a Zelda-like. It's actually really enjoyable. I played it to completion, really had a good time. But it has a virtual joystick. It's a smart virtual joystick, so it appears wherever your thumb is. And then it just has one action button. So it's actually pretty easy. You don't usually mess up too much in terms of the virtual controls. But then you take something like Bastion, where I feel that they truly innovated. Bastion's an action type game, RPG type game, and they reinvented the way the controls work, specifically so you can play it with one finger while you're on the bus. And it changed the game slightly. The game became a game of positioning. You didn't actually have a fire button. Your weapons just automatically triggered when you were close to an enemy, which, if you really think about the essence of a game, do you really need to be hitting the A button when you're close to an enemy, or can the computer know when you want to do that? But anyway, I just think that that's a great miniature example of someone that saw the platform and said, okay, I'm not just going to put a virtual control, which they actually did add that you could use virtual controls, but that was an option that they added. But their main focus was these kind of gesture-based controls, and I feel like that's a really great way to think about things. Is how can we do that with gaming first of all, and then maybe applying it to the larger computer structure. I don't know.
The computer
I don't know what
world.
the word is, but computer world, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Bastion. I'm more of a, how do I say,
Strategy game.
how like, yeah, well, not even strategy games, but like how people watch sports. I watch games. I watch gameplay. I watch Battlefield 4 for like an hour or two, and yeah, I don't know what it is. I think they have like the video game Olympics now, and because it's the new thing, everybody's watching games rather than playing them.
That's actually a fascinating topic in and of itself, but
but Bastion, I saw that game and it really, really kind of impressed me with what was with the controls, with basically the whole function of the game, and then exactly how you said, they ported it and they did it very well. And seeing this as they're an independent developer. I mean, they're not tied to a publisher and such. And one thing that I really get impressed at is I see a lot of this innovation coming from small development studios. From independent studios are getting a lot of attention. And I have a lot more respect, or a lot more expectations, I would say, from an independent. Like, for example, you guys are brand new. You guys, I think, formed up in 2011. I think, was it?
Yeah.
And 2011, you guys formed up. You're independent. You didn't tie yourselves to anybody. You don't have a big beast looking over your shoulder saying, you can't do that. People are not going to like that. You don't have that, and you were able to make an incredible game because of that. You didn't, you had Eric, and he was the top guy, and says, "This is my vision. This is what we're going to do," and that's it. You don't have
Right.
anybody above him and then above that person kind of messing with it. And I think having independent studios like yours is what's driving the market, because corporations like Activision and the big guys, they're gonna fail, and you can see that as the years have progressed. I mean, they were huge corporations, and they've been laying off development teams left and right.
Right.
And we haven't got any innovation in the last 5-10 years because of them, because they were kind of held back development studios. Now you can't do that. Let's just rush the game out, so this way we can make a buck. But you guys took your time. You made a great products now, more than one, and now we have two incredible games that changed the game, changed the way we game on the iPad. And I think that's what Bastion's doing. I know he's doing a new game. I forget the name of it, but it's also really cool.
Yeah, Transistor. It's right, if you want to look it up, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing it. I haven't heard any news recently about it, but that's a good thing. He's probably hard at work. But yeah, I mean, I look at the independent studios as the driving force. What do you think?
Well, thank you. I think that's flattering as well. I think in gaming we have a very great opportunity. I come from film and TV. It's what I studied in school. Sorry, I don't want to tell too long of a story, but I studied film and TV, and there is some democratization in that space. YouTube is a great way where you can get noticed whether or not you're big or small. However, I think that in gaming we have an even bigger opportunity, and part of that's iOS, part of that's Xbox Live or PlayStation Network, where they allow indie games to get large amounts of exposure. And iOS is particularly awesome because unlike YouTube, where really up until recently the big guys weren't competing in YouTube, right? Sure, they've got trailers up there, but they're not trying to make revenue on YouTube, or weren't. Maybe they are now, but I don't think they ever were. However, on iOS, everyone's trying to make revenue. Whether you're EA, whether you're Shenandoah Studio, whether you're one guy in the basement or a girl in the basement, whatever. You're all kind of have the same goal. Now, that's not necessarily true. Maybe not everyone's trying to make money. They're just doing artistic projects. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I agree with you that small studios, especially in gaming right now with iOS and other small platforms like that are open to everyone without extreme license fees, really have a chance to influence what's going on and a chance to get noticed. And like you're saying, do more, because we aren't constrained by enormous overhead. We're not constrained by necessarily having to, sell 1 million copies to make up for money we've already spent. And so, yeah, I think we have a lot of freedom, and I think that really mobile is a great place because everyone's kind of on the same footing. Even though, sure, being EA does help you since you've got brands that people know, but that doesn't mean that a little game from Shenandoah Studio can't break the top 25, for example. So,
Which it did.
Yeah, so I think it's cool. I think it's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the way indies are coming out. I mean, one good example is you guys are developing Gettysburg for this summer. Actually, I think it's probably you guys have if I remember reading correctly, you guys have an earlier release date. I think it's not even summer. I think it's earlier than that.
Yeah, we don't have a firm release date yet. We will have more information on that soon. But yeah, we're definitely working on it.
To be determined.
Yeah, to be determined. Definitely 2014. So.
And then you have a couple other guys that are developing games like another independent studio which just got on the map was I think Ultimate General. They're making a Gettysburg game, and then you have Wars and Battles. They're coming out with the iOS game, and yeah, you're seeing a lot of independent studios coming out with their own games. And what I really love about this is each one is doing something different. Like you guys are doing a top-down version, kind of like if you were General Lee and you're looking straight down on the map, and you're saying, all right, move General Pickett's troops here, and we're going to attack this ridge here. And I really love that. That's why I did your Kickstarter and spent $80. And I'm a cheap person, so that tells you a lot. How much I think in this game.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, right. And then you have Ultimate General, which is kind of the way I look at it, and I don't know if they'll confirm. And actually, I did speak to him. He actually did mention it, but he's basically taking Sid Meier's Gettysburg and just throwing it on an iPad. And he says that was his inspiration for doing that. And then you have Wars and Battles, which is kind of doing a different type of game. It's hex-based, but I only backed them like on Kickstarter for I think just $5. It wasn't much, just because I like Gettysburg. I didn't really see too much, how do I say, innovation there. But what I really love about it is you have all these independent developers that are pushing the boundaries forward, and every time I always hear of a game that I want to buy and will play, it's always from an indie. The only other desktop game or console game that I want to get now is the Battlefield 4, and then beyond that, there's nothing else. It's just like, geez, the same old, same old. You have Dead Rising 3, same thing. And it doesn't feel like they're pushing anything forward. That's my take on it. I get a lot of people's reviews on these games, and they're like, "Oh, I love Dead Rising." Yeah, but it doesn't do anything beyond what it did before. Or like you have, I think there was Rise, which is all these games I checked out the reviews for. They're not doing too well. They didn't get good reviews, and I think it's based on there is no innovation. There's nothing that pushes it forward.
Right, and I think. Just to help with the conversation, since I think I'm safer to talk about maybe AAA stuff in terms of related to what we do, since I don't think they're necessarily direct competitors. But I think if we look at AAA in kind of what you're saying, I was thinking I'm not going to get an Xbox One or a PS4. I didn't really have a desire to do that. But then now I'm starting to think I need to be part of the conversation. I don't know what that means in my brain, but I feel like But I think what's important there is that the reason I didn't feel like I needed to get one is because I didn't see a big difference between what they were doing between my Xbox 360 that's at home and what I have now. I don't see the difference. I mean, I do understand that the graphics are higher. There's
not by
power
much
is greater
from what I've seen.
Right. I mean, I feel like maybe there is a point of diminishing returns in terms of graphics, and if I think that's being answered by the indie scene. I also think, I mean, you're not really a AAA podcast, but I think if we're using this as an example, I think Nintendo is an interesting example because they chose to make a system that actually didn't push the hardware the max it could be. They've done that for the past few generations, and in that space, decided to, like the Xbox came out last week, but the two Nintendo games that came out the same day as the Xbox, I've heard many video game pundits say that they felt like there was more innovation going on in those games, and that actually is probably true. I think the new Mario game actually has more innovation in it than Rise does, because Rise wasn't trying to be innovative. What it was trying to do is show you, here's some great graphics, here's some God of War type stuff that you already know, sort of, but here's it in better graphics and bigger scope, and you can play on Twitch live or whatever, which is cool. I'd love to do that with just the touch of a button, but I think from a large scope, that's kind of how it looks, and I think in indies it's the same way. The reason we can take more risks, I mean, like in a large scope, Nintendo can take more risks because they're just on the edge anyway, so might as well take risks around the edge. But with indies, it doesn't necessarily cost us as much time or money to get something out the door, and so we can take a risk, and not everything's going to work necessarily, but we can definitely get something out there quicker and test it in a lower risk way, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Nintendo did it does kind of impress me because they do kind of change the way they do innovate on titles. I mean, it's not them, it's probably developers that are under in Nintendo, but
Right.
I do feel like they changed. They kind of try to push gaming forward. And again, like you said, Rise. Exactly like it's that. What was the game that you were mentioning? It was kind of a rip of.
Oh, God of War.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually know. I haven't actually played Rise. I'm just saying, from what I've heard, it just seems like, oh, here's a launch title for a next gen system. You
And it's
run
basically
around and
bland.
chop up guys. And
Yeah, basically. That's what I heard. It's just it's fun for the first 15 minutes, and then you're just doing the same thing over and over and over. The only game that I'm interested in is, I would say, Battlefield 4, because I feel Dice did a piece of innovation I really liked. It was they put the Frostbite engine in there,
right.
and I was kind of shocked that the developers never, or publishers never did this before, where if you were playing Call of Duty and your buddy's behind this wall right here and you're on the other side, you have to come at an angle to shoot him instead of lobbing your grenade M203 shell right at the wall and blowing him and the wall up. Kind of
right.
Doing that, and I like that they did that, even though they're having some problems with the game. But I feel that they pushed innovation forward. I just feel like the majority of the big time publishers don't do that, and that's why I always look at indie games before I ever look at a full console for a full top game. One other game that I bought recently was Prison Tycoon.
Right.
And that game was really amazing. I really I should do a review on that, but
good idea.
That's a great game. I literally killed like 6-8 hours, and it's not like Rise. You're not going to get Rise graphics out of it. You're not going to get Battlefield 4 where you can see the hairs on their skin. You're not going to get that, but you're going to get a really great experience because it's fun, and people are attacking the guards and you're running around. And I really love games like that.
Yeah,
kind of change the way you play.
Definitely.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was just going to go more on Battlefield 4, but I don't know if that's really what this podcast is focused on. So,
are you going to get the next gen console because of Battlefield, or are you holding off?
I can play it on my current console, I guess. But I was just going to say, I feel like that's a great game where they took a genre like the first-person shooter and made it appeal to strategy gamers like us. I know you have military experience, which I definitely don't have. I'm pretty scrawny, but I think that it takes more than just running and shooting, right? You really succeed in that game when you work as a squad and you have specific roles and you try to fulfill those roles the best you can. And I just always find that fascinating about Battlefield in terms of a game that appeals to us strategy gamers that probably would be just as happy with pixel art graphics on a Prison Architect or Prison Tycoon, which is, I think, pretty basic in the graphics department, but captures that strategy that we're after.
It's Prison Architect, or is it Prison Tycoon?
I could Google it, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Hold on, I play this game all the time. I can't believe I don't remember the name of this.
Is your Steam up? I think it's Prison Architect.
Prison Architect. That's it. I apologize, everyone, for my ignorance. Yes, it's Prison Architect. This is one of my favorite here. I like this game.
Anyway, we can move on. Sorry, I just.
That's fine. I mean, I'm actually thinking of. But did you say Battlefield 4 is on the 360?
It is, yeah. So it was kind of an in-between type game. So yeah, it's only a $60 purchase instead of a $560 purchase, or whatever that is.
Yeah, right. The only game I'm looking forward to in the console field, I would say, is probably what is it? They got the there was one that was there was two of them actually. There was one by Tom Clancy. I forgot the name of it. It's called what was it called?
Sorry, my checker at Target the other night was telling me about this game actually. It's kind of like an open world.
Yeah, it's really
type gamer.
It's really supposed. Oh, The Division. That's it. The Division, and then there was supposed to be another one which was called. It was just delayed. Gosh, man.
I wish I could be more help here.
Hold on. Xbox One launch title delayed. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's better to do.
Titanfall? Is that what we're talking about?
No, it isn't another game where you're controlling the like the electrical grid. You're controlling the
Oh.
you're a hacker.
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember here. Xbox One launch title delayed. Let's see. Something walking. I don't know what it is. It's not Walking Dead. It's something else.
Okay.
Sleeping Dogs or something like that. But anyway,
Okay.
there's only two games that I like, and they are kind of similar to Dice. They're kind of innovating here and there because they're thinking outside the box where you can control things and um, but I mean it's gonna take me it's gonna take a couple more games. I would say if once these two games come out, I'll probably spend the money on and get a console. But for right now, basically all my purchases are mobile. A few
Yeah.
desktop. I think Prison Architect was the last one, but that was about it.
And I think in those
Go ahead.
spaces, you can just get so much more. You can try a wider breadth of things, right? And if I were to buy an Xbox One, I might be able to afford one game a month, maybe. But on mobile or on desktop, when the sales happen and games are at a lower price point, I can try a lot more for the same
Especially
money.
Steam.
Yeah. And
Steam's been out there
iOS
so.
stuff goes on sale all the time. Yeah, all that stuff is.
And you guys are doing a sale, I think, until what, next week?
It actually ended this week, so
What, it's done or is it? Do they still?
it should be done unless it was done on Tuesday. So
Okay.
unless I messed something up, and then no, yeah,
Everybody hope he messed up so he can get the deal.
no, I did not mess up, sadly. No, yeah, we ran a sale. It was really great. We did 50% off. It's the lowest we've done so far, and we got a really great reception. It's one of our highest performing sales in recent memory. So and we've only done a handful of them, but it definitely did well.
Now, before we end the podcast, I want to. There's two categories. Actually three categories. I want to ask you about.
Sure.
We have the worst game of 2013, the
Oh,
best
gosh.
game of 2013, the most anticipated game of 2014. Go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm putting a lot on you, but you got to do it.
Oof. All right. So, worst game of 2013. Yikes. Okay. This is gonna be really difficult with my position from our company. So I'll try not to pick anything that's a competitor product. Really, um, was Final Fantasy All the Bravest this year? I don't know.
I think so.
I'll pick that one then. Um, just in terms of disappointment, and I do think one that I guess I could talk about. I don't know. Probably anything I talk about is going to get me in trouble. But I was a little bit disappointed by Star Command. I really enjoyed it, but I do wish it could have been a little bit more than what it was. But again, that was probably just my anticipation versus what it ended up being. Not necessarily that what was there was bad. Does that make sense? Is that cop out enough?
You actually took mine. You actually took mine. Mine was Star Command.
Yeah, and then best game of 2013. Ours aside, obviously, or our game aside. Man, I'd have to look at my iPad. Trying to think. Sorry. This makes really good TV. Yeah, I mean, just probably trying to stay away from our specific genre too closely. Man, I don't know. I thought Warhammer Quest was really great.
Yeah.
Just taking a classic board game and making something pretty awesome out of it was pretty good. And then most anticipated for next year, I'm actually really excited to see what Gettysburg turns out to be. Not what it turns out to be, but how it turns out. I obviously seen much more than most of you have, but I still,
behind the scenes,
I'm curious to see it, complete. But in terms of not our products, man, I don't know. I've heard King of Tokyo is coming, and that's one I'm actually really interested to see. It's a board game port. It's a dice game. It's a game I've always wanted to turn into a board game or an iOS game. Sadly, I didn't have the programming skills to acquire the license, but on my own. But yeah, it's one that I'm I think has great potential because it's just a really silly game, and if done right, it won't feel necessarily like a dice game. It'll just feel like a fun iOS game that actually could be identical to the other game, just presented slightly differently. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I don't know if those were too cop-outy, but
No, those were good. Actually, you actually took mine. Mine was the worst game of 2013, and that was Star Command. Primarily because, based upon what you said, it had so much potential, but I feel it kind of went under the mark. First, there was no cloud-based interaction, so a game that I started on my iPad didn't transition to my iPhone, which, I mean, that was
frustrating.
Yeah, it's especially when they were delaying the game for, I think it was about a year or two. So they had some time to work on it. But overall, I mean, there was too many bugs that I played around, or I ran into a bug the first hour I played the game, and it was a game-killing bug. I had to start a new game, and even when I did it, it didn't grab me, and I was just like, well. I think it was only $3, so it was $4, whatever it was. It wasn't that much of a big deal, but I had a lot of hopes for this game, but it didn't materialize, unfortunately.
Right. And what's your
best game of 2013? That was hard. I literally had to spend. I was thinking about it last night. I said, shoot, which game? Now there's two games, 2 or 3 games that I play a lot. Obviously, Drive on Moscow is one of them. I'm addicted to this thing. I'm playing like literally 3 or 4 games at one time. So that I would say, if you had to ask me the best tablet game, I would say definitely Drive on Moscow. As you can see, I'm ready. I'm playing right here.
Oh boy. Do I owe you a turn right now? Anyway.
No, I think no, it's on me. Yeah, right. But in terms of it, I would say overall, I would probably have to say Europa Universalis 4. And the reason I really love this game is because I really love a lot of things Paradox does. It's really incredible because they take full-end desktop games. Like what I loved about it was there's like 4 starting points in the game, but you can change your own date. You can control literally hundreds of countries, go into the economy, the military, and basically every section of your country. You can colonize. I mean, whatever you can think of, you can do in this game. And I love it was such a grand scope. And I was kind of on the border between that and Total War, but I said, you know what, this game just has so much more. So I would say best game for me, it was EU4.
Oh man, I didn't know I was only tablet limited. Dang. But,
you can revise.
No, I'm just joking. It's fine. It can stand. Though I have to say, Rayman Fiesta Run.
Yes.
That actually might be, going away from strategy games, that might be my top tablet game of the year. Anyway, but that's really cool about EU. Does that give you the ability? Like I know, like I've played stuff like Crusader Kings. Which is very limited. Like if you're not going to take, I don't know, the Mayans and make them rule the world, for example. But is that possible in EU4? Is it still very much that? Well, you can change history. It's not like Civilization where you can be, the Mayans and end up ruling the world, or not just the Mayans. I don't know. I'm picking on the Mayans, but gosh, I just can't pick up another
get the underdog.
Yeah, like the Spaniards suddenly ruin the world, or I don't know, lots of different people.
In this game you can. I remember in EU4, I was choosing the European powers, but if you move the map to the side, you can actually select any of the Indian nations, and from what I can tell, you can just expand and eventually fight them. And I mean, there were certain shortcomings that I had with the game, that I didn't like. I think it was the technology tree and the idea tree wasn't.
Right.
How do I say that fleshed out? I would say it was. So the way I kind of base games is I don't want to play a tutorial. I just want to get into it, and if the game is great, you don't need a tutorial. Right. So in this one, I felt like the learning curve was like an hour. You needed to learn something to play the game, especially when you're doing technology tree. I would love to, if I had to give them any advice, I would say look at Sid Meier's Civilization. That technology tree is great. You know, you have a map. This is how you get here, and beautiful. Even their Victoria game, that technology tree was great. But yeah, I really love all their types of games. But EU4, it would have to be my best game of 2013. If I had to choose tablet, of course, it's going to be Drive on Moscow. But for the desktop, I would say I played this game a great deal.
What about your anticipated title for next year?
Most anticipated title. Now, this game has been on my watch list since last year, a year ago. It's been a while, and it's by the same manufacturer, developer, Paradox. And I don't know if you heard of it. It's called East vs. West.
I don't think I've heard of it, no.
And have you ever played a Hearts of Iron by any chance?
I also haven't. My Paradox game record is not super high.
Well, just to give you a quick summary of it, basically Hearts of Iron was a game that allowed you to control any country in the world in World War II. It started in 1936 and ended in 1948. And the game is hour by hour. Now, obviously, it's not like turn-based. It's real-time, so you can go faster than a couple hours. But you control every part of your country, your economy, your military, production, anything. And it's you can fight the Nazis. You can beat the Nazis. You can do whatever you want. You can win the game in numerous ways by making alliances. But it's a great military game because you can invade up the boot of Italy. You can help support Russia. I mean, whatever you can think of, this game does it. And ever since Hearts of Iron came out years back, I was hoping for a game that's more modern, you know, like to deal with the Iraq War that's going on, or I know it's a sensitive subject, but the Iraq War or modern day events or the Cold War. East vs. West basically takes Hearts of Iron and modernizes it. It allows you to control any country in the world. You can be President Bush, in 1993 and invade Iraq, or you could be Bill Clinton and go into Kosovo. All those great parts of the game you can do, and you control your country from I think 1950 all the way to 2003, I think was it. Okay. And you go through all the major things. You can do World War III and launch nukes at Russia and have your birds meet in the middle of the air and blow up the whole world. And whatever you can think of, this game does. And it's been on my radar for about a year. But I would have to say that would probably be my most anticipated game. Again, if I had to choose a tablet game, I'd definitely Gettysburg. You know, that's the big one. And I'm hoping with Gettysburg, I'm hoping you guys are going to be down there for the reenactment this year, which is going to be, I think, in July.
I can't promise it right now, but it's definitely something we're heavily considering. I mean, I hear there's booths that you can get and things like that, so it's definitely something we're exploring our options on.
Yeah, if you can, if you guys, the way I was kind of hoping it would work is basically it's a reenactment. It's a huge field, and there are booths that go around the field. And what I was hoping would be to have obviously the game will be hopefully released by then. But what would be awesome would be walk into your booth and go head to head with everybody that's in the event, and actually playing Gettysburg while at Gettysburg.
While on the field, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would think that. And plus, the cool thing about it is you would get a lot of people. I mean, think about it. This is everybody that's obsessed with Gettysburg, and
right.
You have a Gettysburg game now, So I mean, and especially $10 or even $15. I mean, I'm sure people will be like, hey, yeah, this is what I would like to spend my money on, and I know I'm going to be spending my money on. Actually, I did already because I got the Kickstarter.
You did. Well, yeah, I agree with you. That's something we're definitely cool. Looking into.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because hopefully I'm really good in terms of Gettysburg, so this is a part where you're probably not going to be able to beat me. I'm probably going to win this one, I'm telling you.
I can't believe I won the one game I did, actually, so that was probably a fluke. You were probably sick.
I lost every single game that I played multiplayer. I played like 3 people. I lost every single game. But I kicked the computer's butt. I mean, the computer I won. But
it's just, I don't know. It's tricky.
That's why I'm enlisted. That's why I'm not an officer. Because they'll be like, "How do you invade?" I'm like, "Hey man," I was just like, "I'm
Just
gonna
tell me
leave it
where
in
to
your
go.
hands because everybody's gonna die if I do it." Um, but yeah, I mean, those are the three games that I would say are my top, worst, and most anticipated. And I'm really looking forward to East vs. West and Gettysburg. That's going to be a huge one. And I think with Gettysburg, I think I'm from what I've seen about the game, Gettysburg: The Tide Turns. I think this is going to be a really remarkable title. I mean, the map that you guys did is really really good. I mean, I think you guys put in a couple of templates. I think you have a development diary I was looking at, and I saw one. I was like, that's all right. And then you guys kind of put another one in, and it was kind of like let me actually go to the website here because I remember when you guys did it, it was actually I was thinking of it as I'm gonna be General Lee.
Yes, we kind of try to do an etching style, so it looks somewhat like you're, watching the battle from bird's eye view in a lot of ways. But I think we've, there's some newer concept art that we're not quite ready to share yet, but I definitely think we've stumbled upon some great stuff for sure.
Yeah, here it is, right here. I got the map. I can't show you all, but you can go to shenandoah-studio.com and you can go here, and I mean, it really looks good because you can easily identify, and that's the trick about games. You have to make it easy for the user to understand because one good example is I don't want to name names. I know they're your competitor, but I wasn't really crazy about Wars and Battles Gettysburg because the map would it didn't feel right. It wasn't there, and I wasn't too crazy about it. But this one right here that I'm looking at is it's easy to identify. This is a hill, this is where the woods are, and I can know where I could position my troops. But in the other game, I was kind of like, wait, is that the hill? I mean, what is that? Is that a rail fence? I mean, is that going to help me out? What's going to happen? This one, I like the way you guys designed it. This map and the Ultimate General map, I mean, I think you guys just hit the nail right on the head. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked too much at those other two, but yeah, I think that one of our guiding principles is things can look great, but yeah, if they're not clear, how do the purpose of the game is gameplay. It's not an art piece, so there has to be a marriage between clarity and beauty, I think.
And I think you guys hit it because the art that I see on here is just let's just say it's the game that I want to play, and wow, it really looks nice here. I can see exactly what Round Top is. This is a little Round Top, yeah. I like it. Now with the Gettysburg, just one question because this is on my mind since I have it here. I noticed these not triangles. What am I saying? Rectangles are, I think, what identifies the brigades, right?
Right. So that is definitely, if you read the diaries and stuff, but yeah, we're still very much in a concept stage there. But yeah, we're somewhere between, we're trying to figure out how to present it to look kind of like a historical battlefield map, but also maintain the clarity, like we talked about. So yeah, what you're seeing there is kind of different ideas of how to represent different types of units.
Will I be able to control the individual brigade on this?
So so it is a brigade level game. So each of those, so each of those so the game rules limit in one hex is one unit, which is a brigade in this case. So all of those little bits you're seeing in the one hex are actually controlled as one force. Mm-hmm. Just the different numbers maybe will represent strength or fatigue or other factors. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But we are thinking about how to represent them, whether to just do one long rectangle that represents the whole brigade or do several maybe cannons next to each other or different things.
I mean, I really like this because I mean This works for me. I mean, it's very easy to understand, and yeah, I could have stopped looking at this because this is a tease right here. This is all a tease. I can't play it, but I really want to play it. And it's just.
Yep, it's I don't know. There's two ways to go about video game life. You can either look at everything, or you can ignore it and wait till it comes out and experience it fresh. But
yeah,
it really depends.
I'm glad that I know it's coming.
Yeah.
One last question I have for you, El Alamein. Am I going to see it before New Year?
You will not see it before New Year. We currently have on our website winter 2013-2014, so that's what we're sticking to right now. So yeah, it's definitely going to be into the new year.
Okay.
But we are hard on work on it as we speak.
Yeah. I mean, you guys got me on Drive on Moscow. I can wait a little bit longer. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to run a tournament in January, Drive on Moscow, so I feel like people need to be playing that and get ready so they can compete.
I mean, I know with the El Alamein, with the game is you guys are taking the extra time to make it because I think you were talking about balance of the game. That was a real key aspect.
Right.
And I support that. So take as long as you need. I got to drive on Moscow, so I mean, if you guys come out with it, in February or March, hey, that's fine. Or whatever day it comes out with I got enough games to last me until summer, until you got your Gettysburg game coming out.
Well, I mean, we're definitely trying to lower the turnaround and get them out to you. But yeah, we'll let you know as soon as we have a firm date ready to go. But it definitely is coming together as we speak.
All right, sounds good. I think that's where we'll close the podcast. I think we went
cool.
over an hour, but that's fine.
A little bit. And we'd be happy. I'd be happy to come back another time. It was fun.
Excellent. I'll be taking.
Don't know if I'm invited, but
you're always invited. All right, thank you. I appreciate it, Bradley, and everybody. If you didn't buy Drive Home Moscow, just open up your iPad, get it right now. Just take my word for it. You're gonna love it. I like it. I think it's a great game, and be sure to pick up. Is there still a sale on Battle of the Bulge?
Not currently, no. But
not currently. Well, y'all.
Nothing to announce yet, but holidays are coming, so keep your eye out. Who knows what could happen?
Oh, all right. So that's good.
Official, I don't know.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Bradley, and I will I'll contact you later, and then we'll hook you up for another episode.
Cool. Sounds great.
All right, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
I'll see you next time.
All right, bye.